The cardiac secret, the surgeon, the chief, and the untold truth. Dr. Clara Maxwell thought this was just another shift, the final one of her career, a silent farewell to everything she once loved in medicine. But when the door burst open and he walked in, the man who left without saying goodbye, the man she swore to forget, the floor dissolved beneath her. Because Dr. Julian Vance had no idea what he left behind, a daughter. And now, with the little girl's heart failing, Clara must decide whether to tell the truth or let the past remain buried. But fate has its own plans, and when Lily smiles for the first time at the surgeon who might save her, something in Clara shatters, because that smile is exactly like his. If this story has already touched something in you, leave your like now. It's the encouragement that tells us to keep telling these stories. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any chapter, and tell us in the comments. Where are you hearing this message from? Every word from you reminds us why we do this. Thank you for being here. Let's begin. Part 1. The Ghost in the Operating Room. Clara always knew this day would come. The last shift. The last time she would wear the scrubs, walk the hospital's white corridors, or smell the disinfectant mixed with stale break room coffee. She had mentally rehearsed this goodbye hundreds of times, silent, discreet, without fanfare. After all, no one knew she was leaving not from exhaustion, but from necessity. Lily needed her full time now. And after 7 years of raising her daughter alone, balancing double shifts with diapers, bottles, and sleepless nights, Clara had learned one thing. A mother's love does not negotiate priorities. She tied her hair into a loose bun, glanced quickly in the locker room mirror, and took a deep breath. Just one more day, she murmured to herself, as she always did when anxiety threatened to squeeze her chest. But there was something different about that morning at the Boston General Hospital, a restlessness she couldn't name, as if the universe was holding its breath before blowing her life in a completely new direction. The operating theater was busy as usual, instruments being sterilized, monitors beeping rhythmically, professional voices exchanging information about the current patient. Clara knew the dance by heart, but when the door swung open and she looked up, time didn't just stop. It imploded. Dr. Julian Vance. The name flashed through her mind like lightning, bringing an avalanche of memories she had locked away deep in her soul. His easy smile, the way his eyes shone when he talked about medicine, the late nights dreaming of the future, planning a life that never happened. And then the departure. Sudden, brutal, without explanation, without farewell. Just a cold message saying he had to leave, that he had an opportunity abroad that she would understand. But Clara didn't understand. How could she? She was 4 weeks pregnant when he left, and he never knew. His eyes met hers over the surgical mask, and Clara saw instant recognition in his gaze. He blinked in confusion, as if seeing a ghost. She immediately looked away, forcing herself to focus on the instruments before her. Her hands trembled slightly, but she steadied them through sheer willpower. Not now. Not here. She had survived 7 years without him. She could survive a few more hours. Nurse Costa. His voice was deeper than she remembered, matured by time and distance. How long has it been? How long? As if they were old college friends. As if he hadn't ripped out her heart and walked away without a backward glance. Dr. Vance, she replied, keeping her voice neutral and professional. Welcome to Boston General. He hesitated, as if wanting to say more. But the moment passed. The surgery began, and both took refuge in the safety of the medical routine. Clara passed instruments, monitored vital signs, doing everything she had done 1,000 times before. but every movement was torture. Why was she so close to him, after so long, after everything? It was like pressing on a bruise that had never fully healed. And then it happened. A brief, almost imperceptible moment. Julian reached for a clamp, and his fingers brushed hers. It was only a second, perhaps less, but in that touch, Clara felt 7 years of pain, anger, longing, and unrequited love explode in her chest. She swallowed hard, maintained her composure, but knew he had felt it too. She saw it in the way he froze for a fraction of a second before continuing. The surgery lasted 3 hours. 3 hours of silent torture. When it finally ended and the patient was taken to recovery, Clara quickly left without looking back, locked herself in the restroom, and let the tears fall. Tears she didn't know she still had. Tears for everything that could have been and never was. Part 2. The silent proof. That night at home, Clara stood at Lily's bedroom door, watching her daughter sleep. The girl lay on her side, hugging a worn teddy bear, her dark hair spread on the pillow. And in that moment, Clara saw Julian. She saw it in the shape of her eyes, the slight curve of her nose, the smile that lit up the world, even when she was sleeping. Lily was the living proof of a love that once existed. And it hurt. It hurt because it was beautiful, and because it was unjust. He has no idea, Clara whispered into the darkness, leaning down to gently kiss her daughter's forehead. And maybe it's better that way. But deep down, she knew she was lying to herself. Secrets like this don't stay buried forever. They have a life of their own. They grow in the shadows, gain weight, and demand the light. And sooner or later, the truth finds its way to the surface. Clara didn't know yet. But that encounter in the operating room was no accident. It was the beginning of something that would turn their lives upside down. Because fate, when it decides to act, doesn't ask permission. It just acts. Julian couldn't sleep that night. He lay in the dark of his still bare apartment, staring at the ceiling, reliving every second of that encounter. Clara. After so many years, so many cities, so many faces that passed through his life without leaving a mark, it was her. And she was different. More beautiful, in fact. There was a solidity to her that hadn't existed before, a silent strength that shone through in every movement. But there was also something in her eyes, a shadow, a deep hurt that he recognized as his own doing. He got up, went to the window, and watched the city sleep below. 7 years. 7 years since he made the most cowardly decision of his life. He ran. Not from Clara, he told himself, but from everything he couldn't face at the time. His sick father, mounting debts, the pressure to take over the family clinic, which was on the brink of bankruptcy. A scholarship in London emerged as a way out, a perfect excuse to leave everything behind, including her. But the truth, the one he never admitted, even to himself, on the loneliest nights, was that he was afraid. Afraid of what he felt for Clara. Afraid of the intensity of that love that threatened to consume him whole. He wasn't ready. He didn't know how to be the man she deserved. So he left, telling himself he was doing the right thing, that she would be fine, that she would find someone better. Now seeing her again, Julian wondered how he could have been so idiotic. The following days were a refined torture. The hospital wasn't big enough to avoid her, but Clara was a master at disappearing whenever he approached. She switched shifts, took other patients, invented excuses not to be present in his surgeries. And this hurt more than Julian thought possible. Worse than rejection was indifference. It was as if he were a ghost, something she had decided no longer existed. Until, on a rainy Thursday afternoon, he found her alone in the break room. Clara had her back to him, making coffee, and didn't hear him enter. Julian stood still for a moment, just watching. The line of her shoulders, the way she bit her lower lip when concentrating, that little tick he knew so well. 7 years hadn't erased anything. Every detail of her was still etched in his memory as if it were yesterday. "Clara," he said softly, and she turned so fast she nearly spilled her cup. "Julian," her voice was colder than ice. "Do you need something? We need to talk. We have nothing to talk about. Clara, please, please." She let out a bitter, humorless laugh. "You've been back for 2 weeks, and now you want to talk? Where was that interest 7 years ago?" "I know I was a coward. I know I hurt you. But let me explain." "Explain?" Clara slammed the cup on the table so hard the dark liquid spilled over. "You think there's an explanation for what you did? You just vanished, without giving me a chance to answer, to tell you." She stopped abruptly, biting her tongue. Almost. She almost told him. "Tell me what?" He took a step forward, his eyes fixed on her. Clara shook her head, grabbing her bag. "Nothing. It doesn't matter anymore." But when she tried to pass him toward the door, Julian held her arm. Not forcefully, just enough to make her stop. And in that touch, all the anger Clara had been cultivating as armor began to crack. "Let go of me," she whispered, but didn't move. "I still think about you," Julian said, his voice husky with emotion. "Every day, in every surgery I perform, in every life I save, I think, would she be proud of me? Did she manage to forgive me? Stop." Clara closed her eyes, trying to contain the tears threatening to fall. "You have no right to come back and say these things as if it were so simple. I know, but I need you to know it wasn't because I didn't love you. It was the exact opposite." He released her arm, giving her space, but his eyes pleaded. "I loved you so much I was afraid. Afraid I wouldn't be enough. Afraid I'd disappoint you like I disappointed everyone in my life." Clara opened her eyes, and when she looked at him, Julian saw decades of pain concentrated in that gaze. "You want to know the truth?" she said, her voice trembling. "I looked for you. I tried calling, messaging, emailing. You blocked me from everything, changed your number, deleted social media. It was as if I never existed to you, as if what we shared was nothing." "Clara." "No," she raised her hand, interrupting. "You made your choice. I made mine. I built a life without you. It's fine now." But the way her voice failed on the last word, both knew it was a lie. Julian took a step back, running a hand through his hair in frustration. "All right, I respect that. But are you okay, truly? Because I saw you leaving the hospital the other day and you looked what? Tired, worried, like she carried the world on her shoulders." For a moment, Clara almost told him. About Lily. About the medical appointments that were stacking up. About the nights she woke up just to check if her daughter was still breathing. But no, he hadn't earned the right to know. Not yet. Maybe never. "I'm fine," she lied. "I have someone waiting for me at home." The look on Julian's face was as if she had punched him. "Someone." He repeated the word, and it sounded painful coming out. Clara didn't correct him. She let him think what he wanted. She grabbed her bag and left without looking back. But outside the room, leaning against the cold corridor wall, Clara let the tears finally fall. Because part of her wanted to run back, hug him, and scream the whole truth. But the other part, the part that needed to protect Lily, the part that needed to protect herself, that part wasn't ready yet. And maybe never would be. Part 3. The Doomed Heart. Lily Sterling woke up that morning with the sun pouring into her small, cozy bedroom, which she shared only with her toys and dreams. She was a 7-year-old girl with deep brown eyes that seemed to hold more wisdom than her age allowed. dark hair that Clara braided every morning before school, and a smile capable of lighting up the darkest days. But lately, Clara noticed, the smile was accompanied by a fatigue that shouldn't exist in someone so young. "Morning, my love." Clara entered the room with a makeshift tray, toast with jam, orange juice, and a good morning kiss. It was Saturday, the only day of the week they managed to have a quiet breakfast together. "Morning, Mommy." Lily sat up in bed, but Clara noticed the slower movement, the slightly labored breathing. Her mother's heart clenched, but she forced the smile to remain on her face. "What are we doing today? Park? Cinema? Or Princess Day here at home?" Lily bit into the toast thoughtfully. "Can I choose to stay home? I'm a little tired." "A little tired." The words echoed in Clara's mind like a silent alarm. Lily never chose to stay home. She was a child of infinite energy, always wanting to run, play, and explore the world. But in recent weeks, princess days at home were becoming more frequent than adventures outside. "Of course, my love. Princess Day it is." Clara kissed her daughter's forehead and felt it was slightly warm. Not fever, but something. Later, as Lily watched cartoons on the sofa, Clara watched from the kitchen. Her daughter was curled up under her favorite blanket, teddy bear in her lap, and occasionally brought a hand to her chest, as if feeling a discomfort she couldn't name. Clara had already scheduled 3 appointments with different pediatricians in recent weeks. They all said the same thing. It might be fatigue, a change of season, a growth spurt. Let's monitor. But Clara's mother's instinct screamed it was more than that. Much more. She picked up her phone and opened the drawer of her dresser, pulling out an old, yellowed photo. It was her and Julian. Years ago, embracing in front of the hospital where they met, both so young, so full of dreams, so naively in love. Clara ran her finger over his image, and for the first time in years, allowed herself to feel not just anger, but longing. "You should know her," she whispered to the photo. "She's all the good we had, and I'm so afraid." Her voice choked, and she quickly put the photo away when she heard Lily calling from the living room. "Mommy, can you come here?" Clara quickly dried her eyes and went to her daughter. "Yes, Princess." Lily looked at her with those eyes that seemed to see beyond. "Are you sad?" "No, honey. Why do you think that?" "Because you keep looking at me with that worried face, like when I had chickenpox last year." Clara sat next to her on the sofa, pulling her into a hug. "It's just that Mommy loves you very much. Sometimes love comes with a pinch of worry. Is it because of my heart?" The question came so directly, so unfiltered, that Clara froze. "Your heart?" Lily placed her small hand on her chest. "Sometimes it beats funny, like really fast, or like it skips. But I didn't tell you because I didn't want to worry you more." Clara's world crumbled instantly. She held her daughter's face with both hands, trying to keep her voice steady. "Lily Sterling, listen to Mommy. You must never hide when you're not feeling well. Never. Understand?" The girl nodded, her eyes wide. "We're going to do some tests, okay? Just to make sure everything is perfectly fine inside." Clara lightly tapped her daughter's chest, but inside, she was panicking. "Will it hurt?" "No, my love. It's just some machines that will listen to your heart, like a superhero hearing things from afar." Lily smiled, reassured by the comparison. "Then it's fine. But can we have ice cream afterward?" "We'll have all the ice cream in the world," Clara promised, kissing her daughter's forehead while discreetly picking up her cell phone to call the pediatric cardiologist she had consulted months ago. That night, after putting Lily to sleep, Clara sat on the floor next to her daughter's bed, watching the small chest rise and fall with each breath. Each inhale felt like a gift. Each exhale, a silent prayer. She picked up Julian's photo again and looked at it in the dim light of the bedside lamp. "If you knew you had a daughter," she murmured, her voice thick with emotion. "If you knew how perfect she is, how much she looks like you, How much she has that way of seeing the world as if everything is an adventure waiting to happen. Would you have stayed? She knew the answer deep in her heart. Julian would have stayed. He would have given up everything, because as cowardly as he had been, she knew his heart and knew he would never have abandoned a child. But I couldn't tell you, she confessed to the silence of the room. I tried. I swear I tried, but you cut me off from everything. And when I finally managed to move on, when I finally learned to live without you, it was too late. Too late to go back. Clara put the photo away and lay down on the floor beside Lily's bed, holding her small hand. I'm going to protect you, she whispered. No matter what I have to do, no matter who I have to face, you'll be okay. I promise. But promises, she knew, are sometimes not enough. Sometimes you need more than love. Sometimes you need a miracle. And sometimes miracles have a name, a surname, and a past too complicated to ignore. Part 4. The Collapse and the Diagnosis. Monday started like any other. Clara dropped Lily off at school with the usual kiss and caution. If anything, the principal calls me. She drove to the hospital. It would be another day, another shift, a few more hours trying not to cross paths with Julian in the corridors. But the universe had other plans. It was 11:40 a.m. when the phone rang. Clara was changing a patient's dressing when she saw the school's name on the caller ID. Her heart raced before she even answered. Hello? Ms. Maxwell, it's the school office. The voice was controlled, but there was an underlying urgency that made Clara's stomach churn. Lily passed out during gym class. We've already called the ambulance, but we need you to... Clara didn't hear the rest. She dropped the phone on the counter, tore off her gloves, yelled something about an emergency to the charge nurse, and ran. She ran through the corridors, up the stairs, across the parking lot, as if the world were on fire. Because to her, it was. When she arrived at the school, the ambulance was already there. Clara saw her daughter being loaded onto the stretcher, pale, so small, so fragile, and something inside her shattered. She climbed into the ambulance without thinking, holding Lily's hand, who was semi-conscious. Mommy? The girl's voice was weak. I'm here, my love. I'm here. You'll be fine. Clara kissed her daughter's hand repeatedly, but her own hands trembled uncontrollably. The ride to the hospital was the longest of Clara's life. She mechanically answered the paramedics' questions. Yes, she had a history of heart problems. No, not that she knew of. Not on her side. The father's side? She didn't know. She didn't know his medical history beyond the basics. Julian. The first time she thought of him not with anger or hurt, but with desperate need. He was a doctor, a surgeon. He would know what to do. But how could she ask for help from the man she had spent weeks avoiding? It didn't matter now. Nothing mattered but Lily. When they arrived at the Boston General Emergency Room, Clara felt a strange irony of fate. The same hospital where she worked. The same hospital where she had run into Julian. And now, the place where their daughter's life was at stake. The doctors were fast. They took Lily straight to an exam room. Clara tried to follow, but the nurse gently stopped her. Let us work, Clara. You know how it is. She knew. But knowing didn't make it easier to stand outside, hearing the beeps of the machines, the professional voices discussing procedures, unable to do anything but wait. Hours passed that felt like days. Exams, EKG, echocardiogram, MRI. Every technical word Clara heard sliced through her chest like a blade. And then came the diagnosis. Dr. Melissa Thorne, the pediatric cardiologist, sat next to Clara in the waiting room. Her face was kind, but serious. Too serious. Clara, the tests confirmed a congenital heart malformation. It's a condition called tetralogy of Fallot. Basically, Lily was born with 4 structural defects in her heart that affect blood flow. Clara felt the floor open beneath her. How did I not know? How did no one detect it before? Sometimes symptoms are subtle in the early years, but now, with growth, the heart is struggling to compensate. Today's fainting spell was a warning sign we can't ignore. What needs to be done? Clara's voice was strangely calm, as if she were on autopilot. She'll need surgery. A complex corrective heart surgery. It's not an emergency today, but we can't wait too long. A few weeks at most. And the risk? Dr. Thorne hesitated. It's a delicate surgery. There are risks, yes, but without it. Clara, without it, the prognosis isn't good. Clara covered her face with her hands. She didn't cry. Not yet. She was too much in shock for tears. Who can perform this surgery? We need an extremely experienced pediatric cardiothoracic surgeon. We'll make some consultations, but... The doctor paused. I heard that Dr. Julian Vance recently returned from Europe. He specialized in this type of procedure. He's one of the best we have. And there it was. The name. The inevitable. Fate completing its cruel circle. Julian, Clara whispered, and this time the tears came. Not delicate, but in torrents. Sobs that shook her entire body. Later, when she could finally see Lily, stabilized, sleeping under light sedation, Clara sat beside the bed and held her daughter's hand. She watched the serene little face, the long eyelashes resting on her pale cheeks, her chest rising and falling, connected to monitors that beeped constantly. Your father, Clara began, her voice thick with emotion. Your father is here, in the same hospital, and he can save you. But for that, I'll have to tell him about you. I'll have to open that door I locked so long ago. Lily slept, oblivious to the drama unfolding. Oblivious to the fact that her life now depended on the man who didn't know she existed. Clara picked up her phone with trembling hands, opened the hospital contacts, found his name. Julian Vance. Her finger hovered over the number for long seconds. 7 years of silence. 7 years of hurt. 7 years of an untold truth. Everything came down to a call, a conversation, a confession that would change everything. But as she was about to dial, the room door opened, and Julian walked in. He stopped at the threshold, surprised to see her there. Then his eyes moved to the girl in the bed, connected to the machines. And something in his expression changed. Clara? What? He approached slowly, as if afraid she would disappear. Dr. Thorne asked me to evaluate a pediatric patient. I didn't know it was... Who is she? Clara stood up, wiping the tears from her face. She looked at Lily, then at Julian, and at that moment, seeing the two of them together for the first time, the resemblance was so striking, she couldn't understand how he didn't see it. Julian, she began, her voice failing. There's something you need to know. Julian looked from Clara to the girl in the bed, then back to Clara. There was something in the air, a tension, an electricity he couldn't name. Clara was pale, her hands visibly trembling, her eyes red from crying. And the way she looked at that child, it was with a love so deep, so visceral, that he felt a pang of something that resembled envy. Clara, who is she? He asked again. But this time his voice was softer, as if he already knew the answer would change everything. Clara took a deep breath. Once. Twice. Trying to find the right words, knowing there were no right words for this. Julian, this is Lily Sterling. She paused, her eyes locked on his. My daughter. He felt something tighten in his chest. So, she had someone. Built a family. Moved on. I understand, was all he could manage, forcing professionalism into his voice. I'll examine her. According to the chart, it's tetralogy of Fallot. I'll need to see the imaging scans to... Julian, wait. Clara grabbed his arm, stopping him from approaching the bed. And in that touch, He sensed she was about to say something immense, something irreversible. "She's 7 years old," Clara continued, her voice trembling. "She'll be 8 in March." Julian automatically did the math. March, 8 years old, which meant she was born in March, 7 years ago. He left in. The world stopped. "Wait," he said, taking a step back, his eyes wide. "Wait, 7 years. When I left, you were 4 weeks pregnant," Clara completed, tears streaming freely now. "I found out 3 days after. You sent that message. 3 days, Julian. I tried calling you, texting you, emailing you. You had blocked me from everything, changed your number, disappeared as if I never existed." Julian felt his legs weaken. He leaned against the wall, looking at the girl in the bed with completely new eyes. The dark hair, the shape of her face, the curve of her nose. "My God," he whispered. "She's your daughter." "Your daughter," Clara said, her voice breaking. "Lily Sterling is your daughter." Part 5. The truth and the surgeon's pact. The silence that followed was deafening. Julian couldn't take his eyes off the girl. His daughter. He had a daughter. A 7-year-old girl he had never known, never hugged, never seen take her first steps or say her first words. 7 years of a life he missed. 7 years that would never return. "Why?" he finally asked, his voice rough. "Why didn't you push harder? Why didn't you insist?" "Insist?" Clara let out a bitter laugh. "Julian, you erased me from your life. Completely. I tried. I swear I tried. But after weeks of no response, after realizing you truly didn't want anything more to do with me, I had to move on. I had to be strong. For her." Clara looked at Lily with so much love it hurt. "I raised her alone. Every sleepless night, every fever, every smile, every tear, all alone, because you chose not to be there." "But I didn't know!" Julian exploded, his voice louder than intended. He immediately controlled himself, looking at Lily to ensure he hadn't woken her. "I didn't know, Clara. If I had known, my God, if I had known." "What?" Clara challenged him. "Would you have stayed? Would you have given up your brilliant career in Europe? Would you have returned to the life you were so desperate to leave behind?" "Yes," he practically screamed in a whisper. "Yes, because I loved you, Clara. And even though I was too cowardly to admit it at the time, even though I ran like an idiot, I never, ever would have abandoned my child. Never." Clara saw the truth in his eyes. And that hurt more than any lie could have, because it meant she had taken away his chance to be a father. Not intentionally, but she had done it nonetheless. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm sorry for all of this. But now she needs you. Not as a father. Not yet. She doesn't even know who you are, but she needs you as a doctor. It's surgery. They said you're the best. That if anyone can save her, it's you." Julian slowly approached the bed, as if in a trance. He stood beside Lily, observing every detail of her face. It was like looking in a mirror of the past. She had his eyes, his nose. Even the way her eyebrows curved was the same. "Can I?" He hesitantly reached out his hand toward the girl. Clara nodded, swallowing the lump in her throat. Julian gently touched Lily's hair, brushing a lock from her face. His daughter. He had a daughter. And she was there, sick, needing him. And he had lost 7 years of her life out of sheer cowardice. Tears came without permission, silently streaming down his face. "She looks like you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "She has your smile. I can see it even while she sleeps. And she has your ways of frowning when she's concentrating," Clara added. "Your love of stories, your curiosity about everything." "Tell me about her," Julian asked, without taking his eyes off Lily. "Please, tell me everything." And there, in that hospital room, with their daughter sleeping between them, Clara told him. She told him about the difficult pregnancy she faced alone, about the birth, about Lily's first cry that sounded like music, about the sleepless nights, about the first steps, the first words, about how Lily loved to draw, how she invented crazy stories, how she was afraid of thunder, but loved the rain, about how she asked about her father sometimes, and Clara would say he was far away, working, but that he loved her very much. Julian listened in silence, absorbing every word, as if trying to fill a vast hole inside himself. When Clara finished, he finally spoke. "I will save her." His voice was firm, determined. "I will perform this surgery. I will use everything I have learned, everything I am to ensure she gets well. And then," he looked at Clara, his eyes red but resolute, "if you let me, I will spend the rest of my life making up for these 7 years. I will be the father she deserves, the father I should have been from the start." Clara wanted to believe him. She wanted to so badly, but the fear was greater. The fear of opening that door again and being hurt. The fear of Lily becoming attached and him leaving again. The fear that, in the end, they wouldn't be enough to make him stay. But looking at Lily, the daughter who now depended on that man, Clara realized she had no choice. Not anymore. "Save her first," Clara said. "The rest we'll figure out later." Part 6. The Ultimate Confession and the Family Reunion. Lily woke up a few hours later. She saw Clara holding her hand, and Julian standing in the corner. "Hi," Lily said shyly. "You're going to take care of my heart?" "Yes," Julian said. "I'm going to take very good care of it." They talked for a few minutes. Lily told him about her love for stories. "My mom always says sometimes you have to go far to find out that what you're looking for was always close by." Julian looked at Clara over Lily's head, his eyes meeting hers. "Your mother is very wise." Then, as Julian prepared to leave for a consultation, he stopped. "Clara," he said, "I need to ask you something." He hesitated, running a hand through his hair. "I know this is fast, but if anything goes wrong in the surgery, I need Lily to know the truth. I need her to know that her father loved her." Clara stared at him, shocked. "Julian, she's 7. She's scared, vulnerable. I can't drop this bomb on her now." "But what if something goes wrong?" Julian's voice cracked. "And she never knows? What if I lose the chance for her to know she has a father who loves her, even without having the chance to know her before?" "Tomorrow," Clara finally said. "Tomorrow morning, the two of us, together, we'll tell her." The next morning, Lily was watching cartoons. Ava and Ethan sat beside her. "Lily, my love," Clara said, taking her hand. "You know you always ask about your dad." Lily nodded. "You said he was far away, working." "He was, but he came back." Clara felt the tears threaten. "Lily, Dr. Julian, he is your father." The silence lasted an eternity. Lily looked from Clara to Julian, processing. "He's my dad? Really?" "I know it's sudden," Julian said, his voice thick with emotion. "And I know I haven't been here until now. But I didn't know about you. If I had known, I would have rushed back." Lily looked at Julian with disconcerting seriousness. "I knew," she said. "You knew?" Clara whispered, shocked. "When I saw you yesterday, I thought, he looks like the pictures Mommy hides in the drawer. And he has the same nose as me, so I figured he must be my dad." Julian let out a laugh mixed with a sob. "You are amazing, you know that?" Then Lily's expression grew serious. "Are you going to leave again?" The question sliced like a knife. Julian knelt beside the bed, taking her hand. "Never, ever again. I promise, Lily. I will be here, always, for everything. And you'll fix my heart?" "I will," he promised. "I'll perform the best surgery of my life, because you're the most important thing in the world." Lily thought for a moment. Then she opened her arms. Then can you start with a hug? Julian embraced his daughter for the first time in his life, and he sobbed. He held her tight, burying his face in her hair. I always wanted a dad, Lily murmured against his chest. Always. And now you have one, my daughter, Julian managed to say between sobs. Clara joined the hug, tears streaming. Now we are 3, Lily whispered. Like in the story. Part 7. The final surgery and the ultimate promise. The day of the surgery dawned gray. Clara, exhausted, sat beside Leo's bed. Julian arrived, composed. You'll fix my heart perfectly, right, Dad? Lily asked, using the word that still caused Julian a physical impact. The best of my life, Julian promised. Because I have 7 years of love to make up for. 4 hours into the surgery, the pressure dropped. A tiny, almost imperceptible bleed. The father fighting the surgeon. Julian fought the panic, fixed the bleed in 3 perfect sutures, and stabilized the pressure. He completed the correction of the 4 tetralogy components. 4 hours and 15 minutes. He took Lily off bypass. The heart was still. Come on, my daughter, he whispered. And the heart began to beat. Strong. Regular. Julian finished the surgery, tears streaming behind his mask. He had saved her. In the waiting room, Clara saw him emerge. He removed his mask, his face pale, but he smiled. She's fine, Clara. The surgery was perfect. Her heart is strong. Clara rushed into his arms, sobbing with relief. Thank you for bringing her back. She's strong, Julian whispered, holding her tight. Strong like her mother. She fought every second. 6 hours later, Lily woke up. Are you two going to stay together now? She asked, with the brutal simplicity of childhood. You love each other. I saw it. And you love me. So we should be together. It makes sense. Julian looked at Clara. I wasted 7 years. I won't waste another day. I love you, Clara. I want to be here for the family we always should have been. Clara looked at her daughter's small hand, which connected hers and Julian's. All her barriers crumbled. All right, she whispered. We'll try. Slowly, but we'll try. Part 8. The wedding of second chances. Meaningful ending. Weeks became months. Lily recovered completely. Julian moved in, first to the sofa, then to the bedroom. He turned down 3 incredible job offers abroad, explaining to Clara, there is no money in the world worth losing another second with you and Lily. You are my priority. Always. One evening, on the small, simple balcony of Clara's apartment, Julian knelt down. He replaced the promise ring with a delicate engagement ring. Ava, he said, eyes shining, I know I hurt you, but I love you. You are my home. Will you marry me? Will you let me make up for every tear I made you shed with 1,000,000 smiles? Clara, tears streaming down her face, said yes. Lily, watching from the doorway, cheered. It's official. We're really going to be a family. At their wedding, a year later, Lily was the maid of honor. Their vows were simple and profound. Julian didn't promise perfection, but presence, presente sempre, the final legacy. The greatest truth about their love wasn't that it never died, but that it patiently waited for Julian to become the man of integrity and courage that Clara had always deserved. Lily, the little heart that united them, taught them the final lesson. Family is not about perfection. It is about choosing to stay, even when it is hard. About loving always. Thank you for following this incredible story of forgiveness and hope. If this story touched your heart, leave your like now. Subscribe to the channel for more stories about love, fresh starts, and transformation. Tell us in the comments, what was the most profound lesson Clara taught Julian about true commitment? The unwritten chapter, the promise of an uncertain future. Revised ending ominous, reflective music. Welcome back for a final crucial twist. The The heart is healed, the family is reunited, but sometimes the greatest challenge to a presente. Sempre, present always, promise comes not from the past, but from a destiny that refuses to be ignored, but like it. If you are ready for a truly profound open ending. Part 9. The shadow of a global call. Months passed in a rhythm of healing and rebuilding. Lily's heart was strong. Ethan was a devoted father and partner. He had conquered his fear of commitment, and his love for Ava was a stable, daily presence. Their life was built on that covenant of hope. One evening, 6 months after the surgery, Ava found Ethan in his home office, staring intently at his laptop. His expression was a mix of intense focus and deep conflict, the look she hadn't seen since the early days of their reunion. "Tough case?" Ava asked softly, leaning on the doorframe. Ethan sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Not a case, Ava. An email." He turned the laptop screen toward her. The email was from the World Health Initiative, WHI, addressed to Dr. Ethan Wells, the world-renowned specialist in complex congenital repairs. It detailed an urgent, high-stakes mission, coordinating a surgical team in rural sub-Saharan Africa for a specialized long-term program to treat severe pediatric cardiac malformations, a region desperately lacking expertise. The final sentence was the decisive blow. "We believe you are the only surgeon capable of leading this long-term initiative. We require a minimum commitment of 1 year." Ava read the words, and the air left the room. A year, a continent away. The same circumstances that took him away 7 years ago. Only this time, it was not selfish escape, but a world-changing obligation. "It's a huge opportunity, Ethan," Ava managed to say, her voice hollow. "It's the very reason I became a surgeon, Ava," he corrected, his eyes filled with a terrifying mix of professional duty and fear. "To make a difference on this scale, it's the ultimate call." He took her hand, his thumb tracing the promise ring he had given her. "The mission is a year. Our commitment is forever. I have the plane tickets in my inbox, but I haven't clicked accept." "And why not?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Because the promise I made to a 6-year-old boy, and the woman who saved me, the promise of presente sempre, is standing in the way of the promise I made to the world. I don't know if I can break one without shattering the other." The fateful choice. That night, they didn't sleep. They sat on the floor of the living room, looking at Leo's drawing of a family of 3. "You changed because of Leo," Ava said calmly. "You became the man I trust because you chose us over your past fear. But this is not fear, Ethan. This is your destiny calling, and I won't be the one to hold you back from saving hundreds of Leos around the world." "But if I go, Ava, how do you know I won't become the man who prioritizes his mission over his family? How do you know I won't just keep going, mission after mission, until I'm gone again?" "I don't know," Ava admitted honestly, pulling him into a hug. "That is the uncertainty of our future. But I know you are not running this time. You are walking towards something noble." The next day, Ethan called the WHI. He accepted the mission, but only on the condition that he lead a 6-month intensive phase first, focusing on training local surgeons, followed by 6 months of remote consultation. They offered him a compromise, a 9-month on-site commitment, non-negotiable. Ethan accepted. He chose the most difficult path, a long-term absence that tested his presence to the limit, but satisfied his world-changing obligation. Final call to action. Ethan has chosen a 9-month mission abroad. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see if Ava and Leo wait for him. Leave your like if you believe that true love is tested by the scale of the sacrifice. Comment below. Do you think Ava should wait the full 9 months? Or should she demand a stronger commitment before he leaves? The ending. The plane took off 3 weeks later, Ethan looked out the window, his hand clutching the promise ring. He was flying toward his destiny, but leaving his future on the ground. Only time and the strength of a love forged in crisis would tell if his promise of presente sempre could span a continent and hold strong against the greatest call of his career.